Hi there, it's Nicole here today with some ornament shaker tags. Last week or the week before, I shared a card using the large version of the ornament globe shaker from Honeybee Stamps. They also have a small version. Either one would be fantastic for tags or interactive elements on cards. I thought I would create some smaller ornament shakers. I used it as a snow globe on the card. I will link that at the end of the video. But I thought it would be fun to create some smaller ones that would really be fantastic for gift tags. The big version of this shaker die collection would also work if you had a bigger package, but these smaller ones are really going to be great for a multitude of things. As always, when I'm creating tags like this, I really like to have them serve a dual purpose, meaning that they're going to be great for tags, but they're also going to be able to be used afterwards by the recipient as an ornament or other kind of decoration. I am stamping some of the images here from Flakey Friends and more Flakey Friends from Honeybee Stamps on some smooth white cardstock. And I did multiples of these, but I actually ended up only coloring one set. That is because I think I'm going to be sharing something else new next week using the rest of these. So what I like to do, especially because these images have a lot of black area, the penguin has a lot of black, the hooves and the nose on the reindeer, the nose and the feet on the bear, I really like to use the MISTI so I can stamp these images one on top of each other multiple times. In fact, I stamped these 3 times because I wanted the outline to be really bold and black. One thing about these images, I don't have to color clear down to the bottom if I don't want to, because part of these are going to be cut off. These are bigger than the tag shape that we're using today. If you're going to use the larger tag version, they would fit within that really easily. This is more going to be just their cute little faces peeking around the sides of the ornament. I decided to keep it simple. There are lots of hat options in the Flakey Friends and More Flakey Friends stamp sets. There is the Santa hat I'm using. There's stocking caps, there's scarves, there's top hats, all kinds of things. So you definitely don't have to stick to Santa hats if you don't want to. And you can mix and match. The Santa hat is for More Flakey Friends, which is where the reindeer and the penguin come from. The bear is from the original Flakey Friends. And the other main image in Flakey Friends is a snowman, which I think would be super cute as well. I've shared quite a few snowman type gift tags lately, so I went ahead and just stuck with the critters here for my tags today. Once they are all stamped, I'm going to color them in with Copic markers. I have sped up the coloring portion just a little bit to make this a little bit faster. Now, when I colored in the reindeer, I realized I didn't think about that I was going to be cutting part of it off, and I colored the whole thing, which is okay. I would much rather have it all colored than forget a part of it and then get to where I'm putting the tag together and it not all be colored, which has happened to me before in with designs like this. I'm using my favorite color combination. If you follow me, you probably know I use this a lot. One of my most often asked questions is what Copic markers are my favorite, what colors are my favorite, and this is definitely one of my most used color combinations. I have more markers than I actually use, so if you're looking for a fantastic brown color combination, I use this a lot. These markers have all been refilled because I've used them so many times. Adding a little dot detail here and there gives a little interest and texture to the image. Notice how the nose and the eyes kind of get lost, especially I think once you color them. Even though I stamped these images 3 times, I think like the penguin, the black portion of the penguin is just not very bold and bright. And I'm going to show you how I fix all of those little things as we get to putting the tags together. Now I wanted to add a little color to the penguin, but not so much that I take away from the white of the white part of him. So I used some very, very light earth tones and blended them out with a colorless blender just to smooth out any harsh lines. It actually doesn't really blend. The name is a little misleading, but it will kind of smooth and push that ink out, just kind of softening it a little bit. It's one of the things I use that for the most. For the hats, going very traditional with red, and then we'll have white trim created with some warm gray markers to give that shadowing and texture feel. Warm gray 0, 0, 1, and 3. The reds I used are R24, 46, and 39, a very often used red color combination. And then for my polar bear, I want to give him texture, but I, again, don't want to take away from the white of his fur. So I'm using some warm grays, a little bit deeper and darker than the trim for the Santa hat, with the addition of warm gray 5. Again, though, I'm going to blend that out. And I'm blending it out this time with warm gray 00, which has a lot of colorless blender in it. And it gives it a little bit of a light gray look, but still white, especially I think once you get it die cut. I did die cut all my images then with the coordinating Flaky Friends and more Flaky Friends dies. And now I'm going to add that detail to the eyes and nose and any other black areas on these images like I was talking about. So I'm going to go ahead and put together the whole reindeer tag first. A lot of times when I'm creating multiples, I will do one from start to finish just to make sure everything goes together the way I've imagined it will. And then I will go ahead and assembly line style the rest of them. So for this, we need to stamp the back of the tag before we start building up the shaker well. And to do this, I'm going to grab some greetings. Now, I originally thought I might use some from the Flaky Friends sentiments, and I actually ended up not. Every greeting I'm using is from more Flaky Friends, and I'm going to use either a combination of "you're a cool friend" or "you're a dear friend." For the reindeer, he's going to have the dear friend sentiment. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the greeting on the back of this with Versamark ink and heat emboss with white embossing powder, but I want to do a two-tone for all of the tag backs except for the one that's going to be I'm trying to think which one. Oh, red, because the red's going to get lost. So it was completely white, but the other two are going to be two-tone. So one has a gray background and one has a lighter gray background, I believe. So dark gray and light gray. And I'm stamping and embossing the greeting with white embossing powder and then taking the cute little heart from More Flaky Friends, and I'm going to stamp that and emboss that with red. I think it would also be fun to maybe switch and do the greeting in red, and you could do a snowflake in white. Just little things like that adds a lot of texture. Now there's no to and from on these, but you could very easily just write somebody's name. There's plenty of room down there underneath this to write the recipient's name, write your name, whatever you want to do. So the only sentiment or greeting type thing on these is on the back, which is going to be hidden. Now the solid or the ornament shape, it was die cut, and that's the back. You also need to die cut a piece from a clear type of material. I'm using some embossable plastic from Judikins. This is going to be the shaker window. Those are the two pieces that are die cut from the solid ornament shape. From the frame, this is what's going to create that frame for your shaker window. And I'm just using some tweezers. I want to kind of gauge where I want to put my snowflakes. I think I even ended up covering them up accidentally on this one, which is fine. But the snowflakes are from More Flaky Friends. And what we're going to do is stamp 3 snowflakes on the clear cover, the shaker cover there, with white Stazon ink. It adds just a little bit of texture because there's nothing else going on inside the shaker as far as stamping or scene building. It's really not necessary with this size of tag or the size of the elements I'm using to decorate it. If you were using some teeny tiny little images, I could really see maybe creating a little scene inside, but these are big. So I'm showing here where I've put the antlers up above where I am die cutting this because I'm going to be building up my frame. I did die cut my critters because it's going to make assembling the shaker so much easier. If you leave the image and just kind of tuck it underneath the frame, it's going to create kind of a bump in that. And I'll show you why that it's really important to probably die cut it for this particular style. I don't want any funny little bumps in the frame because I've die cut multiple frames. There are 6 pieces here. This is going to eliminate the need for trying to maneuver foam tape to go around this curved edge. It will make it so that you can only see solid red or blue or gray instead of seeing kind of a funky type of foam tape that isn't very nice and neat, especially if you were going to use this as an ornament after you've used it for a gift tag. I think it really takes away from the look with that kind of ugly foam tape side. So this is my favorite way. I went ahead and put a little glue around the frame, and then I'm going to layer the window piece behind that. Then I stacked the frames one on top of another behind that. We've tucked the reindeer on the front of this and the hat, and it just goes right along that curved edge. I'll show that in a little bit more detail when I create the other two. I'm going to fill the well with sequins. I've got a combination of some pretty pink posh snowflake sequins and honeybee stamps clear bubbles. Something fairly not real bulky. I tried some little rhinestones, too bulky. Even with 6 layers for the shaker well, I just felt it didn't work very good. Then I glued the backer on. And there is also the awesome little ornament toppers that I've die cut from some silver cardstock, glittery cardstock. I've only put the front one on. I'm just shaking it up to see how that works. Go ahead and glue the front on. Normally, I would use Ranger Matte Medium. You may have seen I started to use that. My container is empty and I'm waiting on my order to get here. So I did use Glossy Accents. Glossy Accents isn't my favorite for assembling this. However, it probably is just fine. I did put something heavy on top to hold all those layers together while the glue completely dries. So we're going to kind of start over. Not exactly from the beginning. I have already die cut my animals with the ornament frame die, so they've got that nice curved edge, but we are going to stamp the backs of the tags with a sentiment. This is where I switched it up to "You're a Cool Friend." I think that works great for both the penguin and the polar bear. We'll stamp, we'll emboss these, and then we can start assembling the shaker tags. And hopefully you'll really see how I glued each of these layers together. It's simply gluing one right on top of another. It's pretty easy. You just kind of line it up, but I do like to kind of maybe put an acrylic block on it periodically while I'm building that up, because it does help kind of smush all those layers together and really make a nice secure shaker. Now I am adding detail to the nose, the eyes, the black portions of the penguin. I did get my finger right into that black ink. I erased it off and I think I got it pretty well. I shouldn't have tried to touch it until that was completely dry. So I am gluing on now the frame to the back of the clear window to the back of one of the frames, and then gluing the rest of the frames one on top of another to the back of this. Just building up a nice thin layer of glue, layer after layer. It is a little bit of die cutting, but I think the end result is so worth it with a beautiful finished side. I'll show that at the end where you don't see any of that unsightly foam tape. There are my acrylic blocks kind of holding that first shaker down while I go ahead and glue all of the layers on my second unfinished one, I guess I should say. there's what the finished one looks like. So on the inside of the shaker, we'll add snowflakes. We'll add some little clear bubbles. You can do that as full or as, you know, excuse me, the more full it is, the less it's going to shake about. If it has a little bit less in it, it'll shake more. The critter is tucked on the front. You can add the hat however you want. I like to kind of tip it at an angle for these guys. I think that's kind of fun. Glue the ornament toppers on both the front and back. I like to use a powder tool before adding my shaker elements. Kind of helps make sure things don't stick to the sides. Again, adding the snowflakes, adding the clear bubbles, adding a thin line of glue all the way around that. Maybe a few more. And then gluing the backer onto the shaker ornament tag. And because you've embossed, it's kind of important, I think, to put something heavy on this while the glue dries. It helps keep this really nice and flat. While that's drying just a little bit, I'm going to thread some silver twine through my tags, knot those, trim up the ends. I think that's the perfect little finishing touch for these. So there's 2 of them all finished. Go ahead and glue the front and back of this one in place. Glossy Accents does dry really fast, which is one of the great things about Glossy Accents. Glue my polar bear along the side. With that curved edge, it just fits perfectly. Glue dots to add the Santa hat. Again, I'm going to tip his at an angle. I think that's kind of cute and fun. Cut another length of silver twine, thread that through the top, and knot that. And that is really all there is to these cute little critter shaker ornament tags. Really fun. Just by switching it up, you can make these into little tiny snow globes if you wanted to. It's very, very easy to do, and I think those would be adorable accents on cards or other kinds of tags if you wanted to. I love that it serves a dual purpose. I love that there is a big and a small size. This is the small size. Here are the finished shakers. When I tip them to the side, you can see it's just a nice color, no foam tape. Thanks for joining me today for these ornament shaker tags featuring honeybee stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create my tags are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring honeybee stamps that you might be interested in. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.